The restaurant buzzed with quiet chatter, crystal glasses clinking under soft golden light. It was one of those places where people spoke in half-whispers and waiters floated by like shadows. At a corner table, a man in a neatly ironed but slightly worn shirt sat nervously, checking the time for the 5th time in 10 minutes. His name was Ethan Cole, 37 years old, janitor at Stonebridge Corporation, and a single father of an 8-year-old boy named Max. He didn't belong here. Everything about the place screamed expensive, from the polished marble floors to the perfumed air that made him feel dizzy. His coworkers had insisted he come, said a friend wanted to meet him. It was supposed to be a blind date. He didn't expect much, probably another office prank. They loved picking on the janitor who fixed their coffee spills and unclogged their toilets. Still, part of him hoped this time it was different. Maybe, just maybe, someone had seen something more in him than a mop and a bucket. He checked the menu and almost laughed. A plate of pasta cost more than his entire grocery budget for the week. He took a sip of water and whispered to himself, "Don't mess this up, Ethan. Just be polite and leave if it's weird." Then she walked in. Every head turned for a moment when she entered, dressed in a sleek black dress that looked both powerful and soft at once. Her eyes searched the room until they found his. For a second, she hesitated. He could see it in her face, the flicker of surprise, the subtle question in her eyes. She walked toward him anyway, her heels clicking rhythmically on the marble floor. "Ethan?" she asked, her voice calm and smooth. He stood up, fumbling slightly. "Yes, that's me. You must be Clara," she said with a small smile, extending her hand. "Clara Morgan." Ethan froze for a moment. He knew that name. Everyone at Stonebridge did. Clara Morgan, the company's youngest CEO, the woman who'd turned a struggling corporation into one of the country's fastest-growing firms. What in the world was she doing here? He shook her hand, trying not to look as nervous as he felt. I didn't expect." "Neither did I," she said, sitting down across from him. Her tone was light, but there was an edge beneath it. They both ordered coffee. The waiter gave Ethan a look that made his stomach twist, half amusement, half pity. He could already tell. This wasn't an accident. Someone at work had set him up on a blind date with the CEO as a cruel joke. His face burned. Clara watched him quietly, noticing how he avoided eye contact. "So, Ethan," she said after a moment, "what do you do?" He almost laughed at the irony. "I work at Stonebridge," he said. "Maintenance department." Her eyebrows lifted slightly. The janitor. There it was, the moment he'd been dreading. The label, the word that drew laughter in the break room, that made people overlook the man behind it. "Yes," he said, keeping his voice steady. "That's me." The silence stretched. Clara sipped her coffee, her expression unreadable. "You know," she said finally, "I didn't realize they still did things like this." He frowned. "Things like what?" "Setting people up for humiliation," she said softly. Ethan blinked. You knew." She leaned forward. "I got an anonymous message earlier. Said I should lighten up and meet someone interesting. Then they mentioned your name. I came to see what kind of joke they thought this was." He looked down, shame tightening his chest. "You didn't have to come. I could have saved you the trouble." Her eyes softened. "No, I wanted to come. Because if people think it's funny to make someone feel small, I'd rather look them in the eye and prove them wrong." He didn't know what to say. Nobody ever stood up for him. Not like that. She smiled faintly. "Tell me about you, Ethan. The real you, not what your badge says." He hesitated, then shrugged. "Not much to tell. I clean, fix, and make sure the building doesn't fall apart. I've been at Stonebridge for 8 years. Got a kid, Max. Smart kid, loves math and building stuff. His mom passed away a few years ago, so it's just me and him." Her expression changed. "I'm sorry." He nodded. "We get by. I pick up extra shifts when I can. He's my reason for everything. Even the rough days." Something about his voice, steady, humble, cut through her polished composure. For once, Clara wasn't the CEO calculating profit margins. She was just a woman listening to a man who'd been overlooked his whole life. "Do you ever wish you'd done something else?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Every janitor wishes he didn't have to scrub floors for a living. But I've learned something. Sometimes life gives you a broom when you wanted a sword, but it's still a tool. You can still protect people with it." Clara stared at him, surprised by the quiet strength in his words. The rest of the evening slipped by faster than either of them expected. They talked about everything, from small-town childhoods to dreams they'd both set aside. For the first time in a long time, Ethan didn't feel invisible. And Clara, beneath her business armor, felt something she hadn't in years, genuine connection. When the waiter brought the bill, Clara reached for it, but Ethan stopped her. "Please," he said softly. "Let me. I don't get to do this often." She hesitated, then nodded. But when he opened the folder, his heart sank. The number on the paper was almost his entire week's pay. He fumbled for his wallet, pretending to calculate. Clara noticed and quietly slipped her credit card in before he could say a word. "No arguments," she said gently. "Call it company dinner." He wanted to protest but couldn't. There was something kind, almost protective, in the way she said it. When they left the restaurant, the city lights reflected on the glass buildings around them. Ethan turned to her. "Thanks for not walking out when you realized who I was." She smiled. "Thanks for reminding me who people really are." That night, Clara went home thinking about the janitor with tired eyes and a kind smile. The next morning, she called a meeting. In the conference room, several employees sat nervously as she entered. Her expression was unreadable. "I want to talk about something that happened last night," she began. "Someone thought it would be funny to arrange a fake blind date, for me, with one of our staff members. A maintenance worker. A man named Ethan Cole." Murmurs rippled through the room. Clara's gaze swept over them like a blade. "Whoever did it wanted to humiliate him. But instead, I had one of the most meaningful conversations I've had in years. That man has more dignity, wisdom, and compassion than most people in this building." The room fell silent. A few faces turned pale. She continued, her voice steady but sharp. "If anyone in this company thinks they can measure a person's worth by their job title, they're in the wrong place. Ethan keeps this company running in ways you don't even see. Without people like him, your fancy offices would collapse." Nobody dared to speak. After the meeting, Clara found Ethan in the maintenance room, fixing a broken coffee machine. He looked up, surprised to see her. "Ma'am," he said quickly, standing straight. She smiled. "Clara, please. And don't worry, I'm not here about the coffee." He laughed awkwardly. "Then that's a relief." She handed him an envelope. "You're being promoted to facility operations supervisor. Full benefits, salary increase, and better hours. You've earned it." He stared at her, speechless. "Ma'am, Clara, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," she said softly. "And maybe, have dinner with me again sometime. A real one this time." He smiled, emotion flickering in his eyes. "I'd like that." Months passed. Ethan adjusted to his new role with quiet pride. He still carried his old mop sometimes, saying it reminded him where he started. Clara visited the maintenance wing more often than before. People noticed, of course, rumors spread, but she didn't care. One afternoon, she stopped by with 2 cups of coffee. Max, Ethan's son, was sitting on a nearby bench, working on a small Lego structure. "Hey, buddy," Clara said, kneeling beside him. "What are you building?" "A company," Max said proudly. "My dad says if you build something strong, it should never fall." Clara smiled, her throat tightening. She looked up at Ethan, who was watching with quiet pride. Later, as they walked outside, she turned to him. "You know, when I first got that message about a blind date, I almost didn't go. I thought it was ridiculous. Now I'm glad I did." Ethan nodded, smiling. "Me too. Maybe some jokes have happy endings after all." She laughed softly. "Maybe they do. But what nobody in that restaurant knew that night, what no cruel prankster ever intended, was that they hadn't humiliated Ethan. They'd given him a moment that changed everything. The janitor they tried to embarrass became the man who reminded a powerful CEO what true worth looked like." And as the sun dipped below the skyline, Ethan walked beside Clara and his son, holding both the broom and the dream he'd never dared to have. A life built on respect, kindness, and the simple courage to show up when the world expected him not to.